Good morning. Buenos dias. We're taking a walk again to the Dollar Tree. Otra caminata ahora para la tienda del dólar. Like I've mentioned, I do not want to make content in English because between tripping and gripping, getting too much IRL hate over content that is in no way, shape, or form directed towards. I have made some and I've taken it down, and when I did make some content that was directed towards perhaps an individual, like a certain person, it was because I was instigated. Keep that in mind, okay? I'm not perfect. Somebody instigates me. I've even put it this way. Imagine, okay, dear viewer, imagine somebody is talking to you real rude, saying the worst things they could say about you to try to bring you down. To try to bring you down emotionally, mentally, even physically, when you never even talked about your physical self, okay? Now imagine that they continue with their rant. Sorry. You guys, if you've seen my videos, you know that I have verbal diarrhea. Now imagine someone else having verbal diarrhea, but instead of it about being about just stuff that's on one's mind, about properties of the earth or infrastructure in the city or culture and how how our social structure functions, just various topics that I try to watch videos about on this website, and then I like to talk about them. But I want to do what the one young man who I put a link to his channel in one of my videos. That's a paramedic. Look at all that's got a lot of noise pollution. It says Broward County Sheriff. Remember, this tree right here divides two cities. South of it is Pembroke Pines, which is the neighbor of Hollywood City, and north of it, at least where I am located right now, is Cooper City, which does not have as much commercial property as Pembroke Pines. So from what I understand, their property taxes are very high. So with that being said, not that that had anything to do with anything. Look at all the cars. Look at all the cars. Look, there's a gentleman. That's awesome. Somebody else using the sidewalk. But look at all the cars. Most people who use the sidewalk, they're not like me. They don't use the sidewalk to get from A to B. They use it for recreation, for fitness, those type of activities. I use it because I have to get to where I have to go. And I do have an iPhone 13 mini, which I can make videos with, but I don't have much else. And when I don't have work, I don't have money. So sometimes I have to just have faith and just trust, See those trucks that roll through? Those are big trucks, and see the big cars? All the cars here, for the most part, are big. There was something like a tax loop, I believe, back at a certain time when Japan hit the scene with small economical cars. So what the United States government did, there's an electric one, that's a Tesla, and look at that big truck. Do you think that person uses that truck for work? They do have something to tow. Look at that, another big truck. Now, with all those big trucks, you would think, wow, we have a lot of workers here in Cooper City. A lot of people that do a lot of work, you know. Maybe landscaping, maybe they're electricians. They have to put stuff in the back, like different things that they need for different projects. Who knows? But you know something? Most of the people, they buy the trucks. Look at this big SUV. They buy the trucks just because, you know, I'm not going to point fingers towards individuals because we're all a product of our environment, okay? That's the nature side of the argument. And now nature, through the power of propaganda, commercials, deception, misinformation, and also people are tired when they get home. They just want to turn on the TV. They don't really want to pay much attention because they have to work hard. You have to work hard here to be able to pay a $3,000 rent on a home. You can't buy anymore because buying is pretty much out of the picture. Only certain career paths, the majority I believe are like in IT, and or if not like in medicine. And even those, you have to pay back your loans because school, even if you do well in high school, let's say you have a 4.0 unweighted GPA, I think it's called, and then weighted is a 5.0. In other words, the highest grade point average you can have. Even if you have that, and you fill out all the forms, you write the essays, you actually have you're like, oh snap. Welcome, dear. Good morning. I walked in with a lit cigarette. I'm so sorry. I'll be right back. So, you know, you pass all those things, you get your scholarship. Let me let you in on a little something. You want to become a doctor? Good for you. You go to school, you get your undergrad in some type of program having to do with medicine. But then, guess what? There are no scholarships for graduate programs. So graduate school, which consists of the last 4 years, and then the residency, you also have to pay for residency. Do you know what that means? That means that you are paying a non-profit usually, because hospitals are usually non-profit, but don't be fooled by that. Their CEOs still make more money in 1 year than the employees will make their whole lives, just like McDonald's. Okay? You still have to pay a non-profit corporation to do your residency. And now there are certain healthcare institutes that are more coveted than others, and the ones that are more, I'm sorry dear, so sorry, the ones that are more coveted, you pay more to do your residency. So in other words, you are paying them money essentially to do work for free. Because, okay, let's say you shadow the training physician, right? The one who teaches. That would be the one, you know, he takes a group of interns, and then
I can tell you on 4.
Oh, thank you. I do appreciate that.
You're welcome.
I only have but one item, so no rush.
We can handle that.
And I'm actually, this is what I call verbal diarrhea. I run a video weblog.
Oh, really?
Yes, it's on a big website. It's owned by Alphabet, which is the company that owns Google.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah, they bought out YouTube.
Really?
Yeah, years ago. They bought them out before
I didn't know that.
before they made it big. Yes. So my sister, because I'm in between jobs, I actually applied here and I did an interview, but it wasn't in my favor because I got a young daughter at home, and mom can't walk, so it would have been difficult.
Sure,
but nonetheless,
So you're doing the video?
well,
the vlog.
my sister suggested a while ago a couple things. One, to apply at 7-Eleven at 12350 Taft Street, which I've done that too.
Good.
And I've spoken with the owner and everything. 134?
Yes,
Okay,
134.
I got 135. I've gone. I applied. Yeah, I need receipts more important, but yes, I'll take both.
So they're gonna come next.
Unless you can use. You know what? Leave the penny for the next person. Because yesterday I was here and nobody could spare me 70 cents. So I left 40 cents over there with a young man.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Okay.
No, yeah, because I felt awful. And you know what I think it is? It's because I'm pointing a camera at me, and when people see a camera, they get scared.
Yes.
And why? I don't understand. I mean, I can understand it's the ego, and that makes sense. But in reality, we're here on borrowed time. You know,
That is so true.
time is like I tell my audience. Time is the most. Yes, ma'am. I put it in the bag. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Good luck.
Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. If I had the card, I'd give it to you in case you go on YouTube. But
Okay. No, you don't have it.
no, I don't. I left them at home. I actually.
That's okay when you come back.
Yeah, I probably will. I was here yesterday because tomorrow's my daughter's birthday.
Happy birthday to her.
Thank you, Rebecca. Have a great day. Okay. Thank you, dear. Okay, so now that I walked out of there with the TP for the... There's a gentleman walking the dog. Hello, sir. Which I remember walking through this plaza with Kila. I had to carry her because right about 100 meters from here, or 200 meters from here, there is an opening with power lines, and that's where I had her doing her exercise. But I didn't bring enough water, and it was hot that day. So she was exhausted afterwards. I had to carry her like a baby. Now, I completely forgot what I was saying. It was all word diarrhea, so it doesn't matter. A lot of things have happened. I've dabbled a little bit into poetry, which I have not done in about 20 years. There's a poem in my video titled Carolina. It's in Spanish. And I also made a short about how it does not translate into English, or at least if it were to be translated into English, I'd have to look at it and I'd have to get a sense of what I am trying to, the message I'm trying to get, because Latin American culture and United States culture are two completely distinctive cultures, okay? I've shown you guys my surroundings. I've shown you all the parking spaces. You can see them behind me. Look, you can probably see them right there. All these empty parking spaces, practically zero people. Look at that. It's just all is pavement. It's all asphalt, which, like I said, it increases the temperature of the air in all cars. All you see is cars. Look, oh look, there's somebody on the sidewalk riding a bike. More than likely, they're riding it for exercise, not to get from A to B, like me. Okay? So, it's two completely different cultures, two different worlds. You know, when you go, the gentleman that I spoke with this morning, the old man that I spoke about in my short called Simon, that's thank you, the beginning title. It's probably it's the last video on my channel. I couldn't say everything in the 60 seconds, but I said it in the captions. The very last caption pretty much is the definitive point, or is the conclusion of what I had to say about using translate.google.com to translate a poem that was meant to be in castellano, in español castellano, for a society, a culture that is different than what I am faced with. Let me show you guys. Look at this sidewalk. Look how many people are on it. Okay, you get a sense, right? Now the arbory is not bad. It's beautiful. Look at a lot of leaves. Some palm trees, which allegedly they're strong against cyclones or hurricanes. But look, all cars. You don't see people. You see, if you do see them, you see them maybe through their windows. And the big cars, oh, that's what I was talking about before. Okay, so if I remember my history correct, during the 70s, in the Middle East, they were fighting a war. I forget what exactly it was. Or I think it was that the United States was, you know, they were pals with the Saudi family. But then they chose to become pals with Saddam Hussein. I know that the United States were pals with Saddam Hussein at one point. Or they chose to back up a certain group. And then the people who had the majority control of the oil trade, they put, just like the United States is doing to Russia, they put, is it an embargo, or they put a thing where oil, the price of a barrel of petrol went through the roof. So we were having a shortage of oil. Around that time, that's when the United States decided to step it up, and they didn't want to. All right, look, this is the intersection that I crossed diagonal yesterday. Look at all the cars. It is roughly 1,100 hours, close to 1,200 hours. Look right in front of me, car. This is the arterial road closest to my street. This car stopped, thank you. I got the white light, but like I told you guys, when you're driving, if you're at an intersection, do not just look at the lights. Look at the cars, because you could be the best driver in the world. All it takes is one person inebriated, and you're dead. Usually the person who's drunk and ran into you, they survive. And that's the number one cause of death here in this country, car accidents. Followed by heart disease, or, you know, cardiac arrest, anything to do with the heart. All right? Cancer's been around for a long time. It's just that now we're better able to detect it. Okay, so now with that embargo that they had during the 70s, I wasn't around here by that time. I was born in Colombia. And in Colombia, you don't need a car. It's like New York. New York was a city that was built before the automobile. There are only a few cities here in this country that were built before the automobile. But the problem is that the real estate in those cities is through the roof. And ideally, someone like me would want to live in a place like that. But the fact that the real estate is through the roof means that even if I got a formal job, worked full time, still couldn't afford it. So what are we left to do? We're forced to buy vehicles when we live in what's called las afueras, the suburbs. Long story short, the United States, the government, they signed into law that exported trucks were to be taxed at 100%, something like that. I'm not saying that that's exactly how it was worded, but it was something similar to that effect. So in other words, foreign trucks and large vehicles could not compete with domestic. And what did General Motors do? General Motors started running propaganda, a lot of commercials, telling the consumer about how they need a big car. You know, a big car shows that you're a working American and that you have good work ethic and you're ready for the job. You're up to the task. You know, they psychologically create a need where there is no need to begin with. That's what happened with plastic as well. From what I understand, here in the States, it used to be like in my home country, or at least where I was born, because this is my home country right now. You used to get your soda in a glass bottle. You would pay a nickel, a dime, whatever it was for the bottle, and then you would pay for the content of the soda. And then when you finished the soda, you would bring back the bottle, and then the next time you would only pay for the soda. You wouldn't have to pay the deposit for the bottle. But what did they do? After they ramped up petrol productions, I think, I'm not sure if it was because of that, but it's also an economic incentive. And remember, this is capitalism. Capitalism is the driving force behind this country. So anything that can create jobs, anything that is expensive, and if they can create an artificial need, in other words, something that you never needed in your life, if they can somehow manipulate your mind into thinking that you need it, now you need it, then that's a big score for the corporation, because now they created a market that did not exist before, but now does. Thus, they create jobs. Keep in mind, the people who work these jobs, they don't get paid. The wages are not linear. So people who are in entry level or are doing the remedial tasks, they don't get paid anywhere near as much as like the president of the company or what they call the chief executive officer. Okay? It's like the McDonald's scenario. The McDonald's chief executive officer will make more money, this is here in the United States, will make more money in one calendar year than a McDonald's worker who usually, they always start them at minimum wage. And if they get like 25% above minimum wage, I think that's a lot. I don't even think they get that high. Maybe they do after years. But nonetheless, the worker will never make as much as the chief executive officer, the president of the whole company, as much as that person will make in one calendar year. That person will work their whole lives and they'll never make as much as the person up on top will make in 1 year. Okay? So now you guys see the differences in wages, and you see that people are being fed propaganda, they're being fed lies that then manipulate them to think that they need this or they need that. And then when it causes, let's say, a problem with the environment or a problem with the supply, what do? They blame the consumer, like they did with plastics. When the plastics, because the plastics, they said they were recyclable, but it was actually cheaper to make just new plastics. So what happens now? We have big islands of garbages in the big oceans around the world because of the currents that travel the globe, you know, because of the earth has a tilt of 23.5 degrees. It rotates around the sidereal year is one rotation around the main star, and during that rotation, because of the tilt, different parts of the atmosphere of the earth, whether it's the northern hemisphere or the southern hemisphere, will get more sun or will get less sun, and that's what causes the seasons. And all of those things, and also the moon, which has an effect because the moon has mass, and that mass will creates gravity, and then that gravity pulls onto the earth, and that's what causes the tides. It's a combination of all those things that creates those currents. But what I was trying to say is then those currents then create islands of trash, mostly plastic. So what did the corporations do after they made us realize or think that we need plastic when glass was working just fine? They said, you guys need to recycle. The garbage out there is because of you guys. They turned and they pointed the finger at the consumer. And this has happened countless times. Tobacco industry, petroleum industry, a lot of corporations, they did their own studies and they already knew the negative outcomes of what was going to happen with time. They knew these things before the public even knew because they hired their own scientists, and they would usually keep the findings in secret. They would never disclose it, whether it be in court or if they're held under oath. They will do their very best to mask it and make sure that that information never got out. Now, we've made progress in some areas, but other areas we're still being, oh, go green, get an electric car. Sure, but the electricity that powers your car is coal. Now that we're doing away with nuclear, and nuclear is probably the cleanest energy. It's just the radioactivity scares people, and for the most part, and also every time an accident does happen, there's stuff to be learned. Like with Fukushima 2011, those generators should not have been in the basement, and if they were in the basement, they should have had backups down there where it could get flooded, and they should have had backups upstairs as well, where if a tsunami hits, they should have actually thought, what happens if an earthquake causes a tsunami? What will happen if the waters come across? But those are things that I guess engineers are taught in engineering schools, or if you're a physicist. Usually if you go to a graduate school to become a physicist or an engineer, you get failed in your basic classes because they don't want to put people out there. They don't want to put engineers out there that don't double check, and are 100% sure that everything that they calculated, all the math, all of the numbers, everything will be, the ingredients, the construction ingredients, time that it takes for things to maybe settle, space that's needed for this utilities, things that might be needed in the future. All these things, it's crazy. It's a lot to take in. And like I said, I came here when I was a mere 7 years and 3 months old. I was separated. I went through culture shock. I went through separation anxiety disorder, which I actually had to pull it up through a government website to show Mama Vilma that it was not a Chinese whisper. It was something it really is real. But, you know, like my aunt, mi tía Marisa dice, dale tiempo al tiempo. Give time some time. Alright, that'll do it for now. You guys, keep your eyes, keep your ears, both of them open. And don't be like me, verbal diarrhea. I enjoy all of you's contents, all you's creators, especially the small ones that have quality content. I always give you guys thumbs up and make sure I sub. If you could sub to my channel, I appreciate it. If you made it to this point, you're a motherfucking legend. Thank you so much. I love you. Ciao.